baby girls, and welcome to a new video. Yeah, I haven't done a video like this in a while. We're gonna do a little wrap up. The last time I did it was like a 3-month recap, and then now I'm gonna do the same. So this is gonna be a reading wrap up for June, July, and August. And let me tell you, there were some really good books in here and some really bad ones. My problem is that I have fallen into a slump, and I was like, maybe in this readathon, maybe in this wrap up, we can together figure out where I went wrong, where I started to fall into the slump, and maybe we can analyze and see where I can get out, because this is not fun anymore at all. So in total, I read 18 books in June, 8 in July, and then I read 5 in August. So you can also see it's progressively getting less. Let's start with the wrap up. Let's get the main thing that happened in June out of the way, which is me reading the entire Shadow Me series. Okay, that's a lie. I had already read the first book and the first novella, but basically I did read the entire Shadow Me series. And Jesus Christ, was this a 5-star series. I adored this. I ate this up. I love this series, and I was a little bit scared going into it since I didn't love Shadow Me, but I had very high hopes, and those high hopes were there. Just the entire story and the plot and the people, and the found family is actually insane in this. The stack is heavy. These are all the separate ratings for all of these books. I have a 2-part reading vlog of the series up. I had to do it in 2 parts because it's just like the editing was insane. It was so many hours of footage. But yeah, so you can watch those. Let me know in the comments if I should still upload a just one final version of the 2 just merged together so it's easier to watch. This was mainly everything I was thinking about. Obviously, if you want a more in-depth review of each of these individual books, it's better if you go to my reading vlog, also because this is 2-3 months ago. My favorites out of all these, because it's quite a stack, is obviously Ignite Me, like every other basic bitch who's read this series, and then Defy Me, which I feel like is kind of underrated. I see so many people talk about Restore Me, and the Restore Me is underrated, but Defy Me, I don't know why, but that just made me so emotional, and those were also the only 2 5-stars in this series. It's definitely one of those series where you have to get through the first book, but I remember a lot of people saying that they didn't like Unravel Me that much either. I did. I don't know why that was no, I had fun with Unravel Me. So this is overall 5-star series, and I can't wait to start another series that's gonna make me feel like this. Let me get my hair on my face, because Jesus Christ, I don't know if I should put a headband in or something. This is also your sign to anyone who's watching. If you're not already munching on something delicious, go grab something delicious to eat, because I'm doing the same, girl, and I'm the one filming the video. Cheers! And then these are all the other books that I read in June. June was a really good reading month. I think that was also because it was the first month that I was done with my exams, where I had the full time and attention to just read. I didn't have a job. All I did was read. The first book that I read in June was King of Wrath, and I actually started to read this for a video that I wanted to film, because I wanted to film a video of me reading the entire King of Sin series. I mean, what is out so far. I enjoyed this, but I had 5-star expectations of this, and I was a little bit disappointed, not gonna lie. Also, I didn't have a single 5-star in the Twisted series, so again, I was a little bit I was like, oh, maybe this one's better, ew, I'm excited. No, I enjoyed this. Maybe it's just because I haven't read a lot of romance, and this was kind of me trying to get back into my romance vibe. But no, it was good, and they had a good connection, and some of the things I did genuinely really enjoy seeing. But then I started King of Pride, and King of Pride I soft DNF'd for now. I was really sad about this, and I'm definitely gonna try to read King of Pride once again very soon. I don't think it's over for the series in my head yet, also since I do have all these books that are out, because I thought I was gonna film this video and enjoy it. Then the next, almost all the other books that I read were from my readathon that I did. I will also put that somewhere on the screen. If you've watched that readathon, you know about which book I'm about to yell about, because it made me get brain trauma. I swear to God, if there would be a cause for brain damage, it's this book, and that is All the Little Things by I don't even know who. Sarah Lawton, but you should study the law because what you wrote in this book is illegal. About this mom and her daughter, and they move to the countryside because they left London, and like nobody knows the truth about why they left London. Spoiler alert, like, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers, go to this part, but I know you want to hear the spoiler. This guy comes into their life. He's sleeping with the mom and the daughter, and he's way too young for the mom, but he's way too old for the daughter. Like, it's very, very weird, and he's sleeping with both of them. And basically the daughter stabbed this little girl in her eye in London, and I think she almost like killed someone or something. Then turns out that guy that's sleeping with both of them is her brother, and he wants revenge. And then the book ends with the mom being pregnant with his child, and like, she says, I hope she has your eyes, like the eyes of that, like the daughter, her daughter like stabbed. You know what the fuck I mean? So this is a 1 star. If I were to ever bird or harm a book, it would be this one. I bought this at a charity shop though, so at least I saved money. It was 75p, but even when I fucking bought it, my mom can fucking quote me on this. I said to her, I'm just checking online on Goodreads like how it's rated and stuff, because this could be either really, really good or really, really bad, and this does not deserve to be published. The fact that a publisher read this and was like, we're gonna publish this because this deserves to be out in the world. No! I also read Indigo Ridge, and oh my god, did I enjoy this. This was perfect. And I haven't continued the series, and I'm so mad about it. Basically, it's just like romance mixed with mystery. It's like romantic suspense, I think that's what it's called. But this was so good, and it was so like, it still had like enough tension and like spice, if that's something you're into, but it had more just like sweet and like I'm jealous of this relationship. Like, this is like such a cute relationship, and like he does everything for her and he always has her back. If you've waited for a sign to read the series or to start it, please let this be the sign. Not all the books in the series are romantic suspense. I know she has another series where they are. I first want to finish this one, and then I might go into that one. Then the next book that I read is The Email by Frida McFadden, and I was kind of nervous to read this because everyone has like such a strong opinion about this book, because either like I feel like there's such a divide. Some people say it's their favorite Frida McFadden book and they loved it, and this is what like got them into thrillers, and then on the other side is people where they were really disappointed and thought it was kind of like far-fetched and like kind of like or predictable, or like one of the two. I'm never gonna say what this is about because I went into it blind. All I knew was something about an inmate, but I really personally enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. This was definitely one of my higher rated Frida McFadden books. I didn't really see where people did not enjoy it. I feel like a lot of people with Frida McFadden, they because she's so well known for her twists, right? But I feel like she also gives like she gives personality to her characters. And I feel like a lot of thriller books do like that. That's, I think, one of the main reasons why people don't like the co-worker. A lot of people don't like the co-worker because she was all about turtles. And I still think the main character in that was autistic. I still 100% think so. Frida, please confirm my theory. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I don't exactly remember my rating, but it'll be up in the screen. Okay, then the next book that I read is Sleep by C.L. Taylor. And a couple of months ago, I don't know if I think that was still in 2024. But she wrote The Guilty Couple, and I adored that book. I gave it a 4.75. It was almost a 5-star, just the ending was not my vibe. And I'm going to be totally super for real with you guys. I do not remember much of this book. I remember the ending, but the rest, it's just like, it was kind of a Agatha Christie setting, right? So Anna takes a job at a hotel on the remote Scottish island of Rum. Yet when 7 guests join her, what started as a retreat from the world turns to a deadly nightmare. One of each guest has a secret, but one of them is lying. You know, like, it's very Agatha Christie. They're all in one area and everyone has a secret, and one of them is the killer, and they have to figure out which one of those is the killer, right? To me, I remember that I was just confused on who was who. This book felt all over the place to me. I will say, as a disclaimer, I did read this in the depth of my readathon. I was tired, okay, and I did listen to it a little bit as an audiobook as well, or mainly even, I think. So maybe that's where my fault. Like, I don't know if anyone has read this one. Please let me know. It's just like, I'm not gonna give up on her, girl, because I had a book by her that I really enjoyed, and I think one of her, like, she just dropped another one, so I'm gonna be buying that. Then the next book that I read is First Down by Grace Riley. This is a very short book, and I saw this book at the works, and they had first 3 books in the series, so this one and other 2, and I made the very, very mature decision of only buying the first book, and I'm so happy I did. This book was one of the worst romance books I've ever read. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be so truthful. This is supposed to be a college like football romance. Like he needs to like focus on his football, but like he's failing this class, and she's like helping him, and she has like a cheating ex who won't leave her alone. So it's kind of like a fake dating. Like he helps her be away from her ex, and like her ex like just like stop threatening her, and she helps him with her grades, right? The concept is so cute. So cute. Could be such a cute college romance. But these people had the common sense of an actual 12-year-old. And I'm gonna admit that I think I was smarter at the ripe age of 12. This book just gave me such a headache. I'm gonna be so honest with you. I cringed almost every single page. And the thing is, I was already so far into this book that I like skimmed the last, I don't know. I skimmed half, like the last couple of pages, the last couple of chapters. Because I was just like, I don't even want to DNF this because I've come so far and I've gone through all this torture. I need to finish it. I'm nowhere, maybe in a different universe where I'm not me and this book is not what it is, I would give the series another shot. And I have seen that people said that the second book was better than the first one, but they get longer. And this was not even 300 pages, and I wanted it to stop. I don't know, it's just the immaturity and the stupidity and the miscommunication that just really drove me insane, and maybe this is why I like stopped reading romance after this. Then the next book that I read is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is quite a chunk of a romance book. It's like 450 pages, but well, it's massive. And this is part of the Never After series, and I ate this up. I don't think she markets this necessarily as a dark romance, but I would say it is on the darker romance side. And they are all inspired by fairy tales, and like the villain of the fairy tales, right? Like the villain tends to be the love interest, which, come here. And this is inspired by Hamlet and the Lion King, because obviously the Lion King is inspired by Hamlet. But yeah, so it has like kind of that feel. And to like, this was such like an, I don't know, like a historical romance. I think that's what like the right word is to use. But it was set in like the 1800s or something, and it was like kingdom and war, and it had like almost that little bit of like a fantasy element, which I really enjoyed. It does say in the beginning that it's like not a fantasy, it's not a retelling, like there's a disclaimer, but to me it definitely had a bit of a fantasy feeling, but that's just my opinion. And this was a 4.75. It's so high, I just didn't get that 5-star feeling, but I enjoyed this. I adore this. The romance, the tension, the high stakes, the everything was just so good, and I hadn't expected that at all because I'm not the biggest fan of the Lion King. I never really cared for the Lion King. No offense to people who love the Lion King. Let's just move on. Then I read If We Ever Meet Again by Anna Huang. So I had the entirety of this series laying around as well, and I saw that they had an audiobook on Nextstory, which used my code for 45 days for free. You know, for in my readathon, I think I had already started it, and I was like, let me just continue the audiobook of this one. And this was so mid. So for your information, the first two books are the same couple and the same story. Not the same story, but like the same couple, and those are the main focal point. And then book 3 and 4 are separate couples, but it's also kind of like a friend group and everything. But yeah, I don't know, there was just like, this was very predictable towards the end. And then I finished the second book, and I was like, yeah, but this was just, maybe just I shouldn't be listening to romance, because the way I cringed and the way I had to turn down my volume, no. I don't think that's my drift. I don't think that's my vibe. No, I don't know. And no. And the next book and the final book that I read in June is The Villa by Ruth Kelly, and I devour this. This is so good. Okay, so it's like a kind of a thriller, right? And it's a fucked up Love Island. And I know that like Love Island USA is going crazy right now. I watched it too. Loved it. I've always been a big Love Island UK fan, but I never watched the USA seasons. It's destined to be the ultimate reality TV show. 10 contestants, a luxurious villa on a private island. Every moment streamed live to global audience who have total control over those competing for the cash prize. And then a journalist goes undercover to get like the inside scoop of like the contestants and stuff. Like the producer is literally willing to do anything for money and views. And it's so crazy because people at home can actually like zoom in. Huh? That is disgusting. They're all in bikinis as well, right? But this is so good. This was just This was just a bundle of fun. Like, it wasn't even super thrilling or scary or high stakes. Like, at some point you were like a little bit nervous, but this was just such a bundle of fun. Like, this was, I haven't had fun with a book like that in such a long time, where you just like enjoy every second of it and you devour it and you don't want it to end. And it's not even anything serious. Like, this literally just felt like, it just was so good. And I really, really hope that more people take on this idea of like a fucked up reality TV show and make it into a book, because reading about it was insane. Take another one, guys. Choose which one do you want? I'm gonna have another Harry boat, green for some reason. Cheers. Let's move on to July. So these are all the books that I read in July. So 2, 4, 6, 8 books in July. This was again kind of a mid-month, and this is the month where towards the end my reading slump really started to hit me. Like, she went crazy. So the first book that I read was The Perfect Lie by Jo Spine, and again, you can probably see this is a very, again, a summery thriller. This wasn't very summery at all. It's just like something happened on the beach. Oh my god. Oh yeah, that was fucked. Yeah, this book was really fucked. This was so fucked. Oh my god. Good that I remember now. This was really fucked and really good. And then the next book that I read was the last summery thriller that I read this year. And I'm so sad because now I've finished all of them and I hope more comes out for next year, because hello, summery thrillers are, I think, my favorite genre because they are so good. So you have The Holiday by T.M. Logan, which is now also a major TV drama, though I've seen no one absolutely talk about it. And I just saw like a clip of a scene and it kind of looked like a bad like soap series. But that, you know, that's fine. I really enjoyed this. Was so good. So this is it says 7 days, 3 families, 1 killer, and it's about like, you know, family that, you know, their friend group, they used to go on holiday every year, and then they made a tradition and they got kids, they got busy, so now they decided we're gonna go on holiday with our husbands and with our kids. And within the first chapter you find out something shocking, and that really grips you and it really hooks you and it keeps you like, I was gonna say watching. It keeps you reading, and that's like the goal of why you're reading it, because you want to find out the truth. But then eventually more comes out, more is like high stakes. It's really good. And then it just like gets crazier, it gets creepier. It's like, who the fuck is doing all of this? Who is taking the piss? Who is being rude? Who is playing with me? Because this is no fun. Then this was another book that I was kind of nervous but very excited to read, because it could start journey of a new series. And this is a like detective inspector kind of thriller series, and I hadn't really heard much about it, but ever since I started posting it, I started hearing more about it, and I'm very excited to continue it. So I read The Night Stalker by Chris Carter. This is actually the 3rd book in a series, but I found this at a charity shop and I was like, let me just read it, and if I like it, I can go look for book 1. And this, he is a detective, part of the Los Angeles Homicide Special Section. Unidentified female body is discovered laid out on a slab in an abandoned butcher shop. The cause of death is unclear. Her body bears no marks except for the fact that her lips have been carefully stitched shut. I will say, was very, I mean, not that very maybe, but it was quite gruesome, so to say. Like, it had very nasty details, so if you're like squeamish or like you just don't enjoy that, maybe don't read this. It was really good, and I like that. Like, I want the details. I want to be kind of weirded out, you know? And I had a shitload of fun with this. I was on a high. I remember that I just really got like attached to the characters. Like, I just thought that everyone was like, the dynamics between everyone I just really enjoyed, and I am definitely gonna carry on with this series. So I found book 4 actually in Greece, and then now next week in like 4 days I'm gonna go to England, and then hopefully I can find more of these, of like, hopefully I can find the first 2. That's all, even just book number 1. Next book, Coffin Road by Peter May. Television advert. Okay, you're gonna have to hang on with me, okay? You're gonna have to be aware of what I'm about to say. So this felt like a proper book. I don't know if any of you have read like Warrior Cats when you were younger, but this felt like advanced Warrior Cats. It has nothing to do with cats. But this is like when you're a kid and you read kind of something exciting and something about like finding out a treasure. This is kind of what that feels, but like as an adult, and like adult books. He cannot remember who he is. The only clue to his identity is a folded map of a path named the Coffin Road. He does not know where this search will take him. It's just like him trying to figure out who he used to be, who he was, what's going on. And this had like governmental issues within it as well, and it was just very intriguing. I will say it took me definitely a while to get into because the writing style was a little bit more, I wouldn't say advanced, but I feel like you get my vibe. I did still read this in like a day or two. I mean, I was on holiday. I'm not sure if I would read another book by him again. I think if the premise really intrigued me, I would. It's just like it took a lot of brain power. Then this book is where my slump really started, and I have to admit to you something. I'm pretty sure in between that book and this book, I got my grades for my IB, because if you didn't know, if you're new to the channel, I finished my IB this year, which is International Baccalaureate, and so I finished high school in simple terms, and I have my exams this year. And you find out the day before if you've graduated, and then the day after you find out what your grades are. And my grades were pretty important for the university I wanted to go to and the course I wanted to do. And I found out that I was just very, very disappointed. I think that emotionally just put me into a slump. I think ever since then, I haven't been doing 100%. Not even because of that. I just think that that might have like triggered something in me. I don't know. I should talk to a therapist about this. Maybe not you guys. Moving on, so I started during that period of time Unholy Murder. My mom had read quite a few books by her, and I think my grandma as well, so I had like medium high hopes for it. Most of the time when my mom and grandma like something, I will enjoy it as well. They're like rebuilding a historic convent, and they find the body of a young nun, and basically there's a bunch of these things that don't really make sense, especially with it being like on kind of like a holy area. Like it's in a holy area. Like nuns used to live there. This was just all so predictable, and I was disappointed, and it bothered me. I just remember being so disappointed by this book. This book took me like 2 weeks to read, to finish. This took years of my life, and I don't think I'll read another book by her. I mean, I explained the premise to my mom, and she was like, yeah, I wouldn't have enjoyed that either. It was just, no. And I'm sad because I've had this book for like, actually like 3 years almost. And I was really looking forward to it. But yeah, that's what happens. Can't do much about it. 3 books left for the month of July. The next book that I read is The Locked Door by Freida McFadden. So obviously another Freida McFadden. So I was in a massive slump because of The Unholy Murder, and I was like, what's gonna get me out of a slump? Freida McFadden, my little babe. I read this in one sitting. I sat down on my couch with my new little Kindle stand, which I'd received for graduating, and I read this on my little stand on my couch in one sitting. And I was kind of scared of doing that because I felt like that wasn't really gonna get me out of my slump in terms of like reading regularly. But I was like, okay, I just read a book in a day. Like, hello, I'm out of the slump. No, I was not. That was an illusion. It was a 1 day, 1 book in a day, and that was it. And after that, I just continued straight to Slump Town. That was really cringe. I apologize. Again, I'm not really gonna tell you what this is about, but this was creepy. This was weird. It was a little off-putting. I'm not gonna lie to you. At some moments in time, I definitely was creeped out. Also, this book and a bit of this book and a bit of other books are in my getting out of a reading slump video, which took me like a month to film, and at the end I was not ever reading some, spoiler alert, but yeah, you can go watch that. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this. Wasn't my favorite, it's definitely further down on the rankings in terms of my Freida McFadden books, but it was a fun time. It was a quick read, and it wasn't bad. So the next book that I read is If the Sun Never Sets by Anna Huang, and this is the second book in the F Love series. And this is like the second part to that romance story, and this is the last romance book that I have read, and I was severely disappointed by this one as well. Like at the end, I really didn't care. I didn't really care that they had like a happy ending. I was just like, fuck off. Everything was predictable, it was stupid, it was cringy, and for some reason I started the third book after this, which I still haven't finished, which I think I'm softy and everything, I don't know. I started it again as an audiobook, which was a stupid fucking idea because I cringe every time I listen to it. It's just I don't ever see myself actually physically reading these books, so I feel like that's the only way I can actually get through them. But for some reason book 3 is thick because these are all quite thin, but for some reason she decided to be. But yeah, no, this series is just a no for me. It's just a no. And I need to really deliberate and sit with myself if I'm just gonna get rid of the other two, or if I still want to read them. It's just, I don't think so. So I don't know, but I feel bad. Like, that's so mean of me. So the last book that I read in July is The Curfew by T.M. Logan. So I was like, I loved The Holiday by T.M. Logan. So I still had 2 other books by him. I had this one and another one. So I was like, let me read it. And my mom had already actually read this one, and she said, you know, I would recommend it. I think it would get you out of a slump. Go read it. And this is about a kid who, like, their parents are like, yeah, you can go out, you know, celebrate that you're done with your exams. And I was like, hey, this fits like my life. But you have to be home by midnight. And then they find out that he wasn't in fact home by midnight, and that a group, I think 5 teenagers, went into the woods yet, and only 4 came out. And it's like, oh my god. But this is also not a very thin book. It's quite a chunk of a book. I remember the first 50-60%, I was like, when the fuck? It's just nothing had happened until fucking 60%. Like maybe like 1 or 2 like very minor things where I was just like, when are we actually gonna get going with this fucking story? Finally things started to happen, and I was like, oh, okay, it's picking up, it's picking up. The ending was kind of predictable. I didn't love it, however. I was just disappointed. That's really all I felt. So that was June and July, and now we're gonna go on to August. In August, I read 5 books, which is like crazy, because if you think about it, I literally did a readathon. August wasn't great. For your information, I've also only finished 2 books, and we're halfway September. So I don't think September is gonna hit either. I hope I can still hit my fucking reading goal by the end of the year. I'm doing fuck all. I'm working 20 hours a week, and that's it. Okay, that's a lot, and I'm actually gonna start working less, so hopefully I can actually read again. I read Spells for Forgetting by Adrian Young, and this actually kind of pulled me out of my mini slump, which was apparently not so many. But this was really, really good. This had romance, mystery, fantasy. So it is classified as a fantasy book, and it definitely has a lot of fantasy. You need to be into fantasy to kind of like enjoy the mystery and the romance, if that makes sense. Which is a very whimsical fantasy, very witchy, very, I don't know. It was just, I have never read a fantasy like this, and I was just like taken over by the emotions that I felt. And it was just so cute. And I was actually underlining things, and I haven't done that since, I don't know. There's one quote that I really like. Hold on, let me find it. I know you feel like I left you here, but you followed me everywhere I went. The emotions that I felt while reading this book. And I read this in like almost one sitting. I think I read the first 12 pages on day 1, and then on day 2 I read the other something. This definitely has a very special place in my heart. And she just, I think this year she published another book, which is apparently getting even more love. Like, people love that one. I definitely want to get that. This is where my readathon starts. So I read Marked for Life, and this is also kind of a, like, you know, detective series, but it's not, because it's with a public prosecutor. You know, she kind of takes risks. She kind of does what she wants to kind of find justice. And this is one of my grandma's favorite books, and I was actually really excited to read this. I had very high hopes for it, but I ended up being quite disappointed, because for a majority of the book I did guess most things, and the whole topic of the book, it kind of evolved around a topic I don't really enjoy reading, not because it's not important or it doesn't matter, it's just it wasn't my vibe. I'm just also in TV shows, whenever it's like on this kind of topic, I'm never that deeply interested in it. It was very sad, and you know, I didn't want it to be that like that, but I had fun, and it definitely wasn't a bad book, and it was written very well. Then the next book that I also read in my readathon was Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, and I have been a huge B.A. Paris fan from 2021. This one I had seen very many things about, good and bad, so I was kind of nervous to read this. I also have listened to this on as like an audiobook, and I will say, very character driven. That sounded like a fart. That sounded like a fart. This is very character driven, and it's about a couple, and it's just very manipulative. If you please watch my readathon, because I'm so funny while reading this book. Like, I'm actually hilarious, and just my readathon, I edited it quite funnily. Like, I had fun. I really enjoyed this. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna give it yet, but it was a very good book, and I'm very excited to read more of her books. And I can understand how this is not everyone's cup of tea because it doesn't go like crazy twisty like maybe you would expect with like a Freida McFadden book, but as I said before, it definitely focuses on the characters, which I again think that in many thriller books is kind of like pushed to the side. And I have heard some people say that they don't need it, that they think it's kind of a waste of time when they're reading a thriller book, but I feel like to deeply care about what's happening to the characters in a thriller or a murder mystery or whatever, you need to kind of have some sort of attachment or, you know, good idea of what these characters are like and their personality and, you know, how they feel. And it can definitely ruin a thriller for me if I don't really understand these characters, or if they're unlikable, if I don't feel for them, because I don't really care if you die when it's high stakes, you know? 2 more books, guys. 2 more books. Then the next book that I read is, this was so good. Kill for Me, Kill for You. Slam me on the table and tell me all about it because this was so good. I have already started the Eddie Flynn series by Steve Kavanaugh. I'm actually reading the 2nd book right now. It's right there on my bedside table. You can't see, but it is there. And I saw that this was out in paperback last time I was in England. I was like, you're coming home with me, because I didn't know that he had any standalones. Like, I know he had one, but I already read that one. And I was just like, oh, hey, standalone, come with me. Come with me right now. And this was so incredibly good. It hooks you. The whole premise hooks you, okay? Kill for Me, Kill for You. You can kind of get the gist, okay? I'm not gonna tell you what it's about. If you want to look that up, you can do that on your own. I went into it semi-blind and I was very happy that I did that. So I did, again, half listen to this, half read it. And I think if I had just fully read it, my rating would be higher. But this was so fucking good. The twists, the turns, the unexpectable.
Huh?
The unexpected things that happened in this book were very unexpected. It was just so good. It hooks you. It's great. If you need a twisty thriller that you can read in most likely one sitting, please let it be this one. Let this be your next read, because I've seen so many people already hype about this book, but I feel like it should be definitely 100% be more hyped. Final book of August and this wrap up, which was another book that I very enjoyed, so I don't really understand why I'm still in a slump. I don't know. And that is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick, and oh my god, I'm speechless. This was really, really good. This was really good. So if you follow me on TikTok, you actually have seen it, but I did those like read with me for 1 hour. I read mainly of the book like that, so I was fully focused. I was so zoned in, and the vibes from this book were so good. So good. And the whole story and the premise, like the whole like magic system, took me quite a while to kind of like figure out and to get into and to understand. But when you do, you're correct, okay? The whole premise, the high stakes, the constant worry, the constant pit you have in your stomach. I've seen quite a few people say that they didn't like this and they thought it was slow, and I can understand where you're coming from. But I felt like I was just so much more in it than for, you know, the resolution of what happened. I have heard that like the 2nd book is like from a totally different perspective with totally different people. And I'm kind of scared because I'm super attached to these characters. I'm kind of sad. But this is definitely like a 4.25. Like, I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to read Two Twisted Crowns. Next week, you betcha, I'm gonna be looking for that book everywhere, because this was just like the last 2 books that are on this pile that I read, I loved. And I finished obviously 2 books in September, as I said, and they were fine. Like, nothing that would throw me in a slump. So I don't, guys, please help me. Please let me know what I can do. Please let me know what books I should read. Please let me know what I can do, because I'm very stuck and I don't want to live like this anymore. Yeah, so those were the I don't know how fucking many books that I read in the last 3 months. It was a very roller coaster month. I don't even think it was a roller coaster. I think June was when we hit the peak of the roller coaster, and after that you just go down, you know, to the entry, and you know, everything's just kind of like over, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, now that's over. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're still watching, comment this little emoji. I'll see you next time, and well, I usually say I'll see you when I see you, so I'll see you when I see you, babe. Bye.